Good morning and welcome to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Friday edition. It's Good Friday. Happy Good Friday to everyone out there. We got a great show lined up for you today. We got my buddy Frangie going to join us here in just a second. In the second half of the show, national champion coach of the Oklahoma Sooners, Bob Stoops, will join the program. But first, let's go straight to the Titan MRI hotline. And we're joined by Frangie, voice of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Also, you can check him out on his own show, the Frangie Show on 1010XL over in Jacks. Frank, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I get to be the opening act for Stoops. It's a pretty big morning for me, Shane. I'm doing great, brother. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing great. I know you got a big golf match set up today, and we want to talk a little sports with you briefly. I got to ask you first. Are you one of those kind of guys, Frank, when you get to the club, you got a little stretching routine and you got to putt X amount of balls and hit X amount of balls on the range?
You know what? I used to be, with all this coronavirus thing, all I do is hit balls now. I do two things, Shane. I hit balls and I do my show. I do my show from home, right? So I no longer go hit balls when I play because that's all I do every day. I'm like, video, there's Frank. He's getting his golf cart, he's driving up the club, he's hitting balls. So I'm the old guy that shows up and hits balls. Frank, you play today? Nah, just going to hit some balls. So I hit balls yesterday for about 45 minutes. So today I'm showing up and playing. So I've become kind of that guy.
Okay. Well, I got to ask you this too, because I'm sure over there you're at the Jacksonville Country Club, I think, right? Or is it Country Club of Jacksonville?
Jacksonville Country Club, right?
Yeah. The pins have to stay in, correct? Have you always been a guy since they changed the rules where you putt with the pin in?
No, I haven't, because I'm upset that I had to have it out for short putts. I mean, if it's long putt, I don't care. But here's what's funny. We were talking about this the other day. I was always got to take the pin out, even though the rules changed. I got to have the pin out. But I think that might change now. We've now become so accustomed to putting with it in because of the coronavirus that now I think I might leave it in. I've never left it in on short putts, even after the rules change. But I think this might change me because you don't have any choice now, right?
Very true.
Yeah, I think it might. I think this might change all my habits that way. So, and by the way, I'm going to be totally antisocial. I've never played much golf with nobody else in my cart. Now I realize I'm a totally antisocial person, so I don't want anybody else in my cart. So this is going to change all my habits.
It's the best thing ever. You know, I don't like to talk to a whole lot of folks when I play golf, but you know, it speeds up play, and I think it should be a rule set now. Everybody gets their own cart from here on out.
And out here, most of us kind of hold our carts. So you pull your cart out of the garage and just drive up and go play. And so I think that may be how we go. I really do.
So what are we going to set the over under at your round today?
You know, here's the deal. If I play silver tees, which is about 6,200 yards, I'm going to shoot 82, 83. Okay. If I try to play the golds with the good players like you and they want to play 6,700 yards, then I'm going to fight to shoot 85. So I think I got some old guys playing with me today. That's kind of the idea. So I think I'm going to try and play those silver tees. So I always think I can break 80. I never do, Shane. You know, I'm that guy. But I always think I can break 80 from those silver tees. So I'm going to try and break 80 today. That's going to be kind of the goal.
We're speaking with Frank Frangie from Jacksonville 1010XL, the voice of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Before we get into sports, let's talk about one of your play-by-play guys with you, or color guys, Tony Baselli. Everyone saw the reports that he had the coronavirus. How's he doing, Frank?
I talked to him yesterday, Shane. We talked for a while. He's hanging in there. It's a battle back. He's okay. He's beyond it. He's negative now, so he's going to be okay. He survived it. It was a tough go. He was in the hospital for 5 days. About 3 or 4 of those days were ICU. He had some scary moments. He didn't know what the next thing was going to be. They couldn't get his oxygen levels back up. And he's a big guy now. I mean, this is a 6'7", 330-pound guy that was having trouble breathing. And so, but you know what, Shane? He got through it. He's a very spiritual guy, and he's really been sort of a spokesperson for, hey, take this stuff seriously, and I'm proud of him for doing that. But he's going to be okay. He's eventually he's going to be able to get back on that beach cruiser of his and ride along the beach, or whenever they open the beach, he's back up. So he's going to be fine. He's struggling. Talking to him yesterday on the phone, I mean, I talked to him a lot, but he, for the first time, his breathing seems normal now. The scratchiness in his voice is kind of gone. So I think he's on the rebound, Shane, and I think he's going to be okay. I think Tony, he had as much pep in his step yesterday as he's had in a long time.
Frank, when you look at what's going on in the world, obviously we don't really have any sports to talk about, but there has been some talk, and I know you're a big baseball guy, about baseball, Major League Baseball, going to out in Arizona and pretty much playing with no fans. What are your thoughts on that and a good possibility?
Well, I think it's a I think some incarnation of that, Shane, is a possibility. I think somehow, some way, they're going to try and play. Whether they all go to Arizona, which is the first thing on the docket. I'll say this: when the story came out, Jeff Passan from ESPN wrote it. If you notice, Major League Baseball didn't refute it. Now, they quickly came out with a statement that said, hey, we're considering a lot of things. That's one of those. We haven't nailed down anything. But they were quick not to refute the report, which shows me there's some truth to it. I think everyone's going to try and play. I think you're going to see an announcement. If not, I thought it'd be this week, by next week, that the PGA Tour is going to have a schedule. We know the majors have been announced. But I think you're going to see an announcement, Shane, that by midsummer, they're going to play the Travelers and they're going to try and play some of the PGA Tour events. I think baseball is going to try and play in some capacity. I don't know when. It might be July when they play. But I do believe the economics of pro sports has taken such a beating that if they believe they can quarantine people, and we still have a lot more to learn about it, I think baseball is going to try it. And somehow, some way, I think something like this Arizona plan, they're going to give it a go. I'd be surprised if even the NBA, even if it's just a modified playoffs, because we'd be in the playoffs by now. I think they're all going to try and play this. So who knows, man? This is a crazy world out there. But my guess is somehow, some way, they're going to give it a go.
All right, we're going to switch over to what we both love is football, whether it's NFL or college football. Which do you think, in your mind, will kick off their season first? College football or professional football?
Yeah. It's a great question, Shane. I don't know if I know the answer to that, but I'll give you kind of a thought process. The NFL hasn't stopped anything yet. The NFL went forward with free agency. The NFL is going to go forward with the draft. Excuse me, it's going to be different. It's not going to be the big shindig in Las Vegas that they thought there'd be, but they're going to go forward with the draft. So I would think somehow, some way, the NFL is going to play. Whether they start on time, I don't know. But I would think the NFL is going to somehow try and do it. College is a stickier thing, man, because you're talking about college students. You're talking about people being back on campus. My guess is we will have both football, pro and college football this fall. I really believe that. Does it start in October? Maybe. Does it start a little later? But if you ask me to guess which one I'm most certain we will have, I think that's the question, I'm most certain we'll have the National Football League. Somehow, some way, I think we'll have the NFL. That's what I think.
Frank, obviously you're the voice of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Correct me if I'm wrong. They have 2 home games scheduled for London next year or this year, right?
As of today.
I was going to say, do you think with what's going on and they do play football, will they take those games and put them back in Jacksonville?
Boy, Shane, that's the $64,000 question, bro. Nobody knows that. And nobody even knows how to investigate that one. You know, some of these other questions, okay, well, let's kind of logically think through this. The SEC, let's go to college football. The SEC is probably not going to have its media days. If students aren't back on campus, there's probably not going to be camp on August 4th or whatever the colleges go back. So you can add some logic to it. Nobody knows what international travel will be like. You know, nobody knows. I mean, I wouldn't travel abroad today. You wouldn't. Nobody would, right? So
right.
I don't even think we'd be allowed to. So I don't think anybody has a real good feel for where that's headed. I couldn't even render a guess. Shane, I couldn't even render an intelligent guess here. Logic says if everything's back to normal, except international travel, and if the UK isn't back as vibrantly and as alive as the US is, then they could say, yeah, you know what, we're just not going to take those trips. But having said that, I will tell you this. In terms of they probably, with one game over there, 7 here, 1 there, probably 15% of their general revenue comes from that game. Think about that for a second now, Shane. 15% of their revenue for the year comes from playing that one game in London. Well, if you had a second game, does that mean it's 25 or 30%? And if it is, that's a lot of money to replace. So how do they replace it if they don't? And obviously, they're way smarter than I am. Shad Khan and Mark Lamping and his team have already figured that part out, and I'm sure there's some contingencies in place. But what I can tell you this, they'd love to play those 2 games in London if there's any way to do it. That I can tell you.
Speaking of the Jacksonville Jaguars, they trade away Nick Foles. Are they set? Is Gardner Minshew their guy? And I want to say the only 2 quarterbacks on their roster right now are Minshew and Josh Dobbs. Neither have a whole lot of NFL playing experience. Do you see them adding a veteran quarterback or possibly drafting someone?
And Josh Dobbs has thrown 12 NFL passes, Shane. 12. And so
that's 12 more than you. That's only 12 more than you, Frank.
That's exactly right. And I think they've got to bring in somebody. But look, they're committed to Minshew as their guy. When they traded Foles, what that told me is they're locked in on this guy. People say, do you think the Jets will draft a quarterback? They've got 2 picks in the top 20. Do you think they want Jordan Love? Everyone's mocking Love here. Well, no, I don't. If they weren't sold on Minshew, why do you trade Foles? Foles is a pretty good player, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a great player, but he's a pretty good player. So why not have 2 guys in the room? Well, I think they're committed to Minshew. I think he's their guy. I think they want to see what they've got in him. So if you bring in a guy, obviously Jake Gruden was with Andy Dalton. Jake Gruden's the coordinator here now. He was with Andy Dalton for a while. The Bengals are going to cut Dalton. Everybody knows that. They've tried to trade him. No one's going to trade. So I don't think you're going to see, unless you get a 7th round, they're probably going to have to cut Andy Dalton. They're going to draft Joe Burrow, so he's probably out there. Do you bring in a guy like Dalton to be your insurance policy? And is he willing to come, knowing he's probably not the starter? I could see somebody like that, the modern day Fitzy, if you will, Shane. A guy that can come in here that's been around the league a long time, that can help Gardner watch tape, that can help Gardner see things you might not see, and can go play if this thing's a disaster. Yeah, I could see that. But there's not a lot of guys like that. Dalton's one. Everybody thinks it's Dalton because if Dalton gets cut, he's not going to cost you very much. But it won't be a guy, Shane, to compete for the job. I don't think they'll bring in a guy to push Gardner. I don't think they want that. It may be an insurance policy, a veteran guy that knows the league, somebody like that. Josh McCown, the modern day McCown or Dalton or Fitzpatrick, a guy like that.
We got a text here on the Titan MR text line. Joe says London is way more important for the Khan family than Jacksonville. So talking about free agency, and I don't follow the NFL like you guys over there in Jacksonville. I saw a list of some of their free agent signings. The only guy that I even popped out to me that I knew of was Tyler Eifert. It isn't Ngakoue trying to get traded as well?
Yeah, he wants out, but he's a good player. But it's interesting. He wanted $22 million. The Jags offered 18.5 last year. Well, and then there was this big standoff. He didn't want it, so he played for $3 million, which was part of his rookie deal. And now they franchised him, which means he's going to have to play for about $19 million for 1 year. Well, now the word on the street is Jason La Canfora reports that he's looking for $18 million. Well, hell, they offered that last year. So all the pass rushing money has come down. Jadeveon Clowney, Shane, wanted $22 million. Now he's looking for 17 to 19. So yes, I think Ngakoue wants out. I'm not sure where that thing's going to Nissim as his agent. He's really pushing this thing. Yannick's been very active on social media, telling everybody he wants out. So that's kind of where he is. We'll see. As for the free agents, yeah, it's a bunch of no-name guys. They're kind of rebuilding it. Joe Schobert, middle linebacker, is a good player. He's probably the best free agent they got. And obviously, Eifert, if he stays healthy, is a good player. He just hasn't been able to play 16 games very often until last year. So, yeah, look, they're rebuilding the roster. That's what it feels like. But I also feel like they've got some good young pieces. They got one of the best pass rushers in the league, and this young guy, Josh Allen. DJ Chark is evolved into a really good receiver. And Shane, they think they've got something with this guy, Gardner Minshew. You know the NFL. If you can stop the run and you got a good quarterback, you're going to win a bunch of games. You know what the Patriots have done? The Patriots have had the best quarterback to ever play, and they stopped the run. You know what that means? They won 6 Super Bowls. You stop the run, and you have a quarterback that's pretty good, you're going to win a bunch of games in the NFL. That formula, George Halas had that formula. Okay, that formula. Vince Lombardi had that formula. In the NFL, stop the run and have the better quarterback of the two teams, you're probably going to win the game. And I think that's kind of how this whole thing's being built here, at least.
A few more minutes with Frank Frangie from 1010XL, voice of the Jaguars on the Titan MR hotline. Bob Stoops will be joining the second part of the program. Frank, okay, so let's say the NFL comes back. Can Frank Frangie call a game with no fans in the stands? How difficult would that be?
Well, it wouldn't be hard for me or the play-by-play guy, but gosh, it would feel weird, wouldn't it, Shane? It would really feel weird. I would be surprised if the NFL played without fans. I would be surprised if we see football without fans. Golf, you can play without fans. You don't even notice them anyway because they got to shut up when the people hit. Baseball fans kind of rear their head more toward the end of a season. I can see baseball. I can even see basketball in some gyms without football without fans would feel weird to me. It just would feel weird. That doesn't mean they're not going to try it. I think everything's on the table now. I think that's the whole point is everything's kind of on the table. Nobody really knows what people might do, might not do. I mean, that's the kind of the beauty of this, but it's also the perplexing part of this is nobody knows. I think football will be played with fans. I think when football comes back, there'll be fans in the stands. I think we will have testing at that point. Now, will people come roaring back is what we don't know, right?
Right.
But will some people have some trepidation about going? Yeah, I know I'm allowed to go, but you know what? I'm going to sit it out for the first couple months. That's what nobody knows. I'd be surprised if they play without fans. That would shock me.
Frank, you're very close to a lot of college coaches and switching to college football, no spring practice. They don't really know when they're going to have their kids back on campus. Does this play in favor of certain schools in the SEC with, their coaches in place, with their quarterback in place? Obviously Florida would sit pretty well, but your Mississippi States, your Georgias, your Ole Misses with new staffs, and they've never seen their kids actually perform on the field. What are the coaches that you talk to? What are they saying?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've discussed that on our show a bunch, Shane. That's the big, who benefits the most. So, number one, common sense. If you've got a coaching staff in place, you benefit over a team that doesn't. Mike Norvell's got a rebuilding job in Tallahassee. Now he does it. And he's not only got to put in different offense and defense, he's got to change the culture. Florida State had become a lazy program, which it never had been before. So he's got to kind of change the culture there and didn't have spring to do it, so that's going to be tough. So new coaches are going to have a little tougher time. If you have an established quarterback, it helps. So you would think Florida benefits on all fronts, Shane. They've got an established coach. They've got an established culture. They've got an offense and defense. People know the terminology, and they've got an established quarterback. Here's one other thought I've got on this, though, and it's a little out of the box. I'm curious what you think about this. So Florida would benefit over Georgia, who's breaking in a new quarterback, over FSU, who's got to change the culture and a bunch of new players, right? But I think where it penalizes Florida is an advantage I think Florida has over so many of these teams. And Alabama had it, and Ohio State has it with Mickey Marotti. And I think this guy Nick Savage is so good, Shane. I mean, he's so freaking good that anytime a player's away from him, that's an advantage for the other team, not Florida. So Florida has an advantage. The system's in place, the coaches are in place, the quarterback's in place, the terminology, and the culture are in place. But I think what really made them good is those guys are around Savage all the time, and now they're not. And I think that's a disadvantage for the Gators. I really do.
Yeah, that's a great point. Last thing for you, Frank, we got a Facebook Live question for you, which is brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred business interruption attorney. It comes from Gary. He says, "Good morning. Ask Frank, does he have any HBC stories that he could tell us real quick?"
Oh Lord, where do we start? How long did this thing go to about 10 or 11?
Exactly.
I think probably my favorite Coach Spurrier story would be Danny Werfel and Eric Kresser were both going to sign with Florida, and he was speaking to the Gator Club over here, and so I was there at the Gator Club, and I wasn't at the game. Or I think that I was at a high school all-star game that Werfel's played in. I wasn't at the Gator Club, and a stringer gave me, this was 1994, but Spurrier said, "This is the year we're going to win them all." Okay, maybe they're really good in 94. They started the season right after you left. They had a really good team in 94. So I write the story. Spurrier says we're going to win them all. So, and that story goes out to the second edition, right? So I write the story. Well, then I come back and listen to the transcript. That's not what he said. He said, if everything goes right, the Gators have a chance to win them all. I left out to have a chance. So with the ball coach, he didn't want to leave out anything, right? So I left out to have a chance. Okay. And I left it out. Well, by the time it got to the Jacksonville papers, I had corrected. But the paper that he saw in Crescent Beach would misquoted him. He was furious, but he couldn't get a hold of me. So he called my mom, said my mom, God rest her soul. My mom's number was listed and mine wasn't. There was no cell phone. We weren't calling people on cell phones yet back then. So he calls my mom's house, gets my number, calls me, and reams me out. Okay, one of the great, Shane, I bet you can reamed out by the HBC once or twice, right?
Just a few times, yeah.
Okay, reams me out. Just how could you misquote me by? And he was moaning. It wasn't that very long. But just reams me out. So I hang up the phone. I'm all rattled. So my wife's in there. My wife goes, "Well, how did he get our number?" I said, "I don't know. I don't know. We're not listed. I'm not Frank Frangie. You're not listed in the phone book." 1 minute later, Shane, my mom calls. She goes, "Hey, how you guys doing?" I said, "I'm good." She goes, "Guess who I just talked to?" I said, "Who's that, Mom?" She goes, "Steve Spurrier. He called here." She goes, he said he knows you. He said, "You're such a nice young man. Your son is such a nice young man. Would you mind giving me his number?" And I thought, You got my mom to give you my number so you could chew me out? He said, yeah, I kind of did. That's my favorite story. Okay, so you got my mom to give the number, Shane, for God. That's fantastic.
That is a great story. Well, Frank, hit them straight today, my man. We appreciate you joining the program. Be safe over there, and we'll talk to you soon.
Anytime, Shane. Thanks for having me on. Take care, buddy.
All right, that's Frank Frangie from 1010XL, voice of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Let's get our play of the day, which is brought to you by Area Rug Masters. Is your whole family stuck at home and tracking in more than usual? Take your rugs to Area Rug Masters for a BOGO rug cleaning when you mention the code Shane. Call 352-448-5999. This day in sports, in 1947, Jackie Robinson becomes the first black player of the 20th century to sign a Major League Baseball contract with the Brooklyn Dodgers. We're going to take a timeout here on the program. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Coach Bob Stoops, talking Gators and Oklahoma Sooners. We'll be right back. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Area Rug Masters, your #1 choice for rug cleaning. And Pound Hurt, preferred personal injury attorneys.
Our touchdown sponsors are Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, UF Mover Guys, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Coldstone Creamery, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the Advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
He's looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown!
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We want to thank Frank Frangie for joining the program. Now we're going to go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by National Championship coach Bob Stoops. Coach Stoops, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Shane. Good to be with you again. It's been a while.
It has. I appreciate you joining the program. Let's jump right into it. You grew up in a huge family, coach's son. You go to the University of Iowa, and then you get into your coaching. And you're hired by Coach Spurrier here at the University of Florida after they got demolished by Nebraska to come in. Talk a little bit about that '96 team. What you were able to do with them to turn them into a national championship type defense.
Well, I think as much as anything, I look back on that, I was incredibly fortunate to have been brought into such a great team, a team that, again, was undefeated to the national championship game the year before. So I think as much as anything, I've always been really grateful of the way the coaches embraced me. Because I didn't come in with any other coaches. I just came in myself and was there with the other defensive coaches, Jim Collins, Bob Sanders, Rod Broadway, all guys that were already there. Not always is a guy that comes in from the outside. And they really were just super to me, as were the players to work with. The players were really awesome and really talented. So when I got there, I just felt really fortunate that, hey, this is a really good group of guys to work with, and just do our job, and we'll be able to make improvements, and we did.
Well, when you look at that team, when you compare maybe your national championship team in Oklahoma to the national title team at Florida, were there any comparisons of maybe some fans of the Gators that may, could relate to, like the James Bateses at middle linebacker, crazy as heck, the Fred Wearies, the different defensive players? Who were the ones that stood out the most to you on that 96 team?
Chester, up front, all the linebackers, Mike Peterson, Javon Curse, of course, to go with James Bates, Anton Lott, the opposite Fred Weary, special defensive corners, and, Lawrence Wright, also back there. So just a bunch of, there was a talented group of players, that we were able to coach there. And, and the difference with Oklahoma, where when we won it my second year at OU, our guys at that time, they hadn't had the winning season in like 5 years. So they were sick and tired of getting kicked around and were pissed off about it and had something to prove. At Florida, we had just gotten beat bad at the national championship game, but they still were used to winning and won the SEC championship, those kind of things. So the mindset was a little bit different. I walked into a much more confident team, I think, at Florida than what we did at OU.
We're speaking with Bob Stoops, former coach of Oklahoma, also was the XFL Dallas Renegades coach. Coach, how did you enjoy coaching the XFL?
It was great. You're working with a bunch of guys that have played a lot of good football. Some mature, older guys, grown men that know the game. Not having to deal with 80% of my day in college used to be between academics and compliance and recruiting and all of those things. And, all of that, we're just got to concentrate on football. So that part of it was really pretty good.
We got a text here, a text on the Titan MRI text line for you, Coach. It says, is Adrian Peterson the best football player that you ever coached?
Well, he's certainly one of them. Fortunately, I was, being at Oklahoma and at Florida, I was around so many great, talented players. I put any of my Heisman Trophy guys right there with Adrian, as well as guys that, like Florida, like a Danny Werfel when I was there. Those are the kind of guys that are just so special. But Adrian, probably physically gifted by far. When he walked on campus as a 18-year-old, he was a full-grown man. I mean, when you got your seniors in all of them, then this guy's really special. And not one time in his 3 years with me was he ever beat in a conditioning drill or any other type of drill. He was never going to let anybody beat him. And he had that kind of physical ability from the day he walked on campus.
You talked about your Heisman Trophy winners. You have two of them, Jason White and Sam Bradford. Do you ever take any jabs at Coach Spurrier? Say, hey, I got more Heisman Trophy winners than you do?
Of course not. No. Coach had a lot of great players he's coached through the years, and I was lucky. Those were a couple of special ones for me. And then even Baker, I had a couple of years with Baker, though before he won the award, but still just so talented and so special.
Well, I was going to bring up Baker Mayfield, who obviously a lot of people may not know. He walked on at Texas Tech first and then left there and walked on at Oklahoma. Did you know when he wanted to walk on at Oklahoma that he had a chance to be a special type player?
Well, I had heard rumors. He never called anybody. He just showed up. But I had heard rumors that he was transferring to Oklahoma. And I asked my coaches, have any of you guys talked to Baker? And nobody had. So I go, well, we'll see if he shows up in our second semester after the season. And I had known of him just from watching him win as a true freshman. I watched him win 5 or 6 games as a starter at Texas Tech. So I was very aware of the quality of player he was. And then he shows up at our first meeting back in the second semester when the second semester began. And he walked up and introduced himself. He said, Coach, I'm Baker Mayfield. I want to, be a part of the team. And I said, you sure as hell are Baker Mayfield, aren't you? And I said, I'm really glad you're here. and you'll have every opportunity to be our quarterback as any other guy in here. And so I said, let's have some fun and make yourself at home here. And he did. And from that day on, he was a leader on the team, even though he had a red shirt that first year because of the transfer rules. He still, you could tell, just the leadership and the ability was there.
We got a text here from Jack. He wants to know, Coach, did you build your OU program from specific things that you learned from Steve Spurrier?
Oh, a great deal of it I did. In that, the way we practiced, the way we set up going through our year, what we felt we had to do. There's a lot of it. I really did all I could to emulate Coach Spurrier and we're a lot alike. You've been around us both, so I think we're very similar people. So I definitely, kind of channeled Coach Spurrier in many ways whenever I could. And let's face it, why wouldn't you? So anyhow, there's a great deal of everything that we did. We really tried to emulate what we were doing in Florida. And I really, my personality and trying to exude confidence, those kind of things were very much part of what I learned being around Coach Spurrier.
Larry's got a great text here, and I've always wanted to know the answer to this, or if there is an answer. Larry wants to know, why is it so difficult to play defense in the Big 12?
I don't know that. I think as much as anything, the quality of offense and quarterbacks and receivers. Mm-hmm. Let's face it. When those teams, just 2 years ago, we play in the playoff game against Georgia, who's they were the top 5 offense or defense in the country, right? Or whatever they were.
Right.
What OU put on them?
30 something, right?
More than that. Right? No. Yeah. It was like,
went into overtime.
It ended up 49 or 50 to 56. It was in overtime. Right. So point being, when you face good quarterbacks and receivers and talented offense that way, primarily people that know how to throw the football and have the quarterbacks to do it, it's hard. And it's easy to play defense, and you'll agree with this being a quarterback. If somebody got a weak quarterback or they're not really efficient throwing the football, it's easy to play against them. I guess unless it's Nebraska and they're running the option. But but anyway, that's why. And there's been a lot of talented quarterbacks and innovation in the way, teams have spread the ball out and throw it. And you're seeing more of it now in other leagues. Watching Alabama now throw it more. Mm-hmm. Look at what Clemson's doing, throwing it more efficiently and more. So now those teams are getting harder and harder to deal with as well. Now look what LSU did last year.
Yeah,
was it because of their running, or was it because of Joe Burrow and they being able to spread it out and throw it? Yeah, so now they're not being held to 10, 14 points trying to win 14-10 anymore.
Yeah, good point. Coach, you've coached, I think it was only 3 years, though, in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party over in Jacksonville, Florida-Georgia game. But you coached many, many times in the Red River shootout there in Dallas. I've been to both. They're very similar, but they're a little different. What are your thoughts on those two games, since they're the only, games that aren't on campus in the country?
Yeah, they're special in that you're in the same division. Well, at least when the Big 12 had divisions. We were in the same division, the South, with Texas, just like in the East with Georgia, and Florida being in the same division, and working towards the Big 12 or SEC championship. So, and a lot of it was very similar. Also with it, the only difference is the stadium down in the Red River Shootout and the Cotton Bowl is split north and south. The OU fans are always in the south end zone or south part of the 50 and in. And it was east-west, the stadium was split, in the Florida-Georgia game. So other than that, it's really similar. And the other big part I think was really cool about the Red River game is you pull the bus into, there's a state fair going on. There's 200 to 300,000 people milling around and having fun at the state fair. And there sits the Cotton Bowl right dead in the middle of that fair while it's going on. So that kind of adds a little bit more excitement to it.
Got a text here from Joe on the Titan MR text line. He says, Coach, are you hanging out at Crescent Beach with Coach Spurrier, and have you played any golf with him?
I am, and I have. My wife and I, when all this sort of broke, when everyone started, staying put. We were down here in Florida, and so my wife and I have been down here for 2 weeks, go a little over 2 weeks now. And I have played some golf with Coach Spurrier. No one touches our clubs. We get our own cart, so we're social distancing and don't touch the flag. And you're the only one that picks up your ball. And so it's been a good way for us to a little bit anyway break up the day.
Coach Stoops, you played for 4 national titles. Obviously, won one of them. A lot of people obviously remember the one down in Miami when Florida played Oklahoma. Were you surprised that that game was such a low-scoring defensive type battle with the 2 high-powered offenses?
Yeah, kind of was. Both of us had scored. Had played and scored. Had been averaging quite a few more points than what we did that day. I look back at it. We had, I think, 3 opportunities inside the maybe 3 or 4 yard line that we ended up with no points, and so that was a big factor in the game for us. Them being able to stop us in the tight zone down there, but yeah, and you had 2 great quarterbacks, with Tim Tebow and Sam Bradford. And 24-14, I believe, is the score. So it was more of a defensive game.
Jack says here on the Titan MRI hotline, he wants to know, Coach, do you ever want to coach either in the NFL or college football again?
Well, who knows? I don't. I love what I'm doing right now. This fits my family and where I'm at with my family and my opportunities right now. Everyone wants you to define your life at every point in your life, and you never know what's coming, so who knows? Right now I'm really satisfied and enjoying what I'm doing. And again, more than anything, it fits my family right now.
Speaking of your family, you had twin boys. I'm not sure if they're both now still playing at OU, but I know one of them is. That had to be pretty cool to see them run out of the tunnel and get to play for the Sooners.
Yeah, no question. My one son, Drake, is still playing, and he's an inside receiver and has played as a redshirt freshman last year. Had some time and even had a catch in the playoff game there towards the end. Almost scored with it. But on my other son, Isaac, really proud of him. He's coaching at a local high school, and they made the semifinals, and he's the receiver coach for them. And so anyway, they're doing great, and my daughter's graduating from OU here this semester. So so I'm just fortunate. Kids are healthy and doing well there at OU.
And speaking of your brothers, a lot of them college football coaches. I think Mike's on Alabama's staff, if I'm not mistaken. But your brother Mark, who's done a tremendous job at Kentucky. We have a text here. Someone wants to know, does Mark ever talk about how difficult it is to coach at a, quote, basketball school?
No, he doesn't. He loves what he's doing, the people he's working with. And he really feels that the basketballs, the fact that they do so well can just help him. So, so I think he's embraced where he's at. And they've done a great job. I think, what I've seen developing facilities there in the last few years, they've moved into a new football complex just a couple of years ago. So I think he's looking at it as a positive, and that he's just got to do his job and continue to build it in a positive way.
Coach, a couple more things for you, and we appreciate you joining the program. When you went out, I mean, you've lost a lot of offensive coordinators. They've gone on to be head coaches elsewhere. What made you, or what did you see in Lincoln Riley, who I think is outstanding? I think he may be one of the best play callers, schemers in the game. What did you see in him to bring him to OU?
Well, that first, just his, schematically, all of it, he does such a great job with that. And I recognized the quality of work he was doing at East Carolina. And then on top of it, when you meet and know Lincoln, he has a quiet confidence to him. He's incredibly, just a really sharp person, intelligent and smart, but also humble, but very strong in what, his beliefs and what he needs to get across. So he has all the leadership skills you look for in a great coach, and on top of it, a great person, So, you put it all together, and you gotta, that's why he's already had great success, but he's only going to continue to have that and more.
I'm trying to remember. Kyler Murray was still on the roster when you were coaching there, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Could you? I mean, he was like the Player of the Year in the state of Texas, if I'm not mistaken. Are you surprised at all at how he played as a rookie in the NFL?
No. He's another sensational talent in every way, not just running, but he got an incredibly quick and live arm to make all the throws. You got to know he went through 4 years of high school, never lost a game.
Wow.
and you got to know since he left, they have lost several games. So point being, it isn't just the school he was at. He went all through high school, never lost a game, and all through the career here at OU until I forget which one it was the first one he lost, but it shocked him when he all of a sudden, I can't believe I actually lost the game. That's the kind of, the quality competitor he is, but also the talent that he has. So he's got a big future as well. I really believe that in the NFL.
And Mike Leach was one of your coaches there at OU.
He was my first offensive coordinator.
Yeah. So now that he's moving to the SEC, and he's a different cat, how do you think he's going to do at Mississippi State? Obviously, him not having spring ball is probably going to hurt them a little bit. But how do you see him doing in Starkville?
I think he's going to do excellent. Mike's done well everywhere he's been. They were doing well at Kentucky when I stole him from Hal Mummy at Kentucky to come be RO coordinator at OU. He did well at OU, moved to Texas Tech. He's done well. He's done well everywhere he's been. So I see Mike just doing an outstanding job there in the, at Mississippi State, and Steve Spurrier Jr.'s there with them as well as receiver coach. And I think they'll just continue to move the ball like they always have, and really believe Mike's going to do well. There's no reason he wouldn't. He always has.
I got this. It just popped in my head. You coached with Coach Spur. You went up against him, 3 years as the defense coordinator in practice, and you had the quote air raid type offense pretty much every year that you were the head coach at Oklahoma. What's the difference in those systems, just from watching it and not sitting in meetings and knowing what the air raid's all about? Personally, I feel like Coach Spurrier may take more shots down the field than the air raid, and that sounds kind of silly with the numbers that Oklahoma puts up. But
you're right in the traditional air raid. That would be correct. Lincoln Riley has principles of the air raid with a ton of principles that are very similar to Coach Spurrier. If you watch in our last 3 years at OU, the shots that are taken there's a lot of them, and Lincoln has done a better job than most air raid teams of running the football. We run the football as well as anybody. And then off of that come the play action big shots that you're talking about. So right now at OU and the principles of air raid that Lincoln Riley has, it's very similar to what Coach Spurrier has done. Our ability to run. Coach Spurrier has sneakily always run the football well. And that's where all the big shots come from, off of play action.
Yes. So, Coach, I got a question here for you, and I can't remember if all three of these guys played together. At wide receiver, you got D.D. Westbrook, C.D. Lamb, and Hollywood Brown. Or would you take Ike Hilliard, Riedel Anthony, or Kwesi Green?
That's not fair. I'd take either one of them. Let me put it that way. But you got a very explosive crew, both of those, and maybe the two are pretty darn comparable, and there aren't many other combinations that other people have had that. Well, I guess LSU right now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, watching those guys, boy, I was impressed as well all year, and again against OU. So when you could spread the field with three people like that, and then you got talented quarterbacks, it's hard to deal with.
No doubt. Last thing for you, Coach. Brad sends in a question on the Titan MRR hotline or text line. He wants to know, do you have a good Spurrier story that you could share with us?
Well, the one that's funny, because you asked about going against him every spring. I come in number one defense in the country at Kansas State, and that's why Coach hired me. Then we go out for first scrimmage after I'd only been there maybe a month, trying to install our defense. And I mean, I go out there, and as you said, you got Jaquez Green in the slot, Riedel Anthony, and Ike Hilliard out wide. Fred Taylor's the running back. Heisman Trophy winner Danny Werfel's the quarterback. And I can't remember the tight end who played the NFL. I can't remember who it was or his name. Well, they go up and down the field. I bet 4 or 5 plays, touchdown. Coach Spurrier says, Bobby, let's flip it around. We'll go the other way. So we go the other way. 4 or 5 plays, another touchdown. He says, all right, let's put the second group in there. They go down the field, touchdown. All right, first group back up. And Danny and those guys go right down the field. I don't know, again, hitting those junk corner routes, and you know the schemes. Yeah, running the sprint draw to Fred Taylor, he goes for 20, and I'm thinking, geez, oh man, he's driving. This is killing me. This doesn't happen to RD or what I've been used to. And then he yells out at me after about the 4th touchdown. He said, Stoopsy, you think we're going to be able to force a punt this year? And then in true form of him, I'm mad and I'm all fired up about it all. And then he coming in after the scrimmage, he puts his arm around me. He says, hey, Bobby, don't worry about it. He said, look, he goes, you're not going to see anybody else like us. He goes, just keep doing what you're doing. And he was right. The rest of the year, we never saw anybody like us. That's sure.
That's great. Last thing, we just got a text. Want to know how Scotty did for you out there in Dallas.
Oh, it was awesome. Scott Spurrier was my one of my special teams guys, and my tight end and slot receivers, my tight end coach, and did great. He led the league in punt returns and kickoff returns. Those were the 2 Scott was in charge of, and our tight end was probably the best one in the league, Donald Parham, and he got picked up, I believe, by San Diego. Somebody's picked him up. So no, Scott did an awesome job for us, and was fun to be out there coaching with him.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking time to join the program today. Take it easy on Coach Spurrier over there. You and your family stay safe.
All right, Shane, great to be with you. Go Gators and Sooners.
Absolutely. That's Coach Bob Stoops joining the program. Hey, folks, at Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Come in and experience the Center State difference. To learn more, visit centerstatebank.com. Center State Bank, member FDIC. We're going to take a final break of the program. We'll come right back. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Area Rug Masters, your #1 choice for rug cleaning. And Pound Hurt, preferred personal injury attorneys.
Our touchdown sponsors are Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, UF Mover Guys, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Coldstone Creamery, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the Advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
He's looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Point is where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Medici's, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. We really want to thank Coach Bob Stoops for joining us and Frank Frangie from over in Jax. On Monday's program, we're going to have Zach Albaverdi talking Gator recruiting. It's kind of a weird situation right now, what's going on in the world with the whole recruiting process. And we're also going to have Gator All-American Lito Shepard join the program. So make sure you tune in. We got a great lineup all next week. We'll be promoting that. Remember, you can watch and listen to our show on Facebook Live and YouTube, and listen to it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. We got some Facebook Live comments here brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred business interruption attorneys. Fred says, welcome to the Pot Up, Coach Stoops. Rob says, good show, guys. And, that was a great story. I'd heard that story before. I forgot about that story that Coach Stoops talked about, his first scrimmage here at UF. But, he had a tremendous career as Oklahoma's coach. It's hard to believe he coached for 4 national titles. Won one against Florida State, lost 24-14 to the Gators, lost to LSU 21-14, and got blasted in the other game by USC. But heck of a football coach. Who knows? You may see him coaching again someday. Also, want to give a shout out to Peachland Dentistry. Jackie Spreads, who's currently on leave because he has no games to wager on, is brought to you by Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Folks, also, regardless of where you are located, whether you're in the Gainesville area, Atlanta, wherever it is, make sure you go out and support your local restaurants during this time. Get you some takeout. And if you're in our area, make sure you thank all the sponsors that allow us to have Pot Up with Matthews in the morning. So we're going to call it a week. It's been a good week with a lot of great guests. I want to thank all of them, especially today, Frank Frangie from 1010XL, voice of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Coach Bobby Stoops, former Gator defensive coordinator and head coach for a long time with the Oklahoma Sooners, for joining the show. Be safe out there. Happy Good Friday to everyone. Happy Easter. We will see you on Monday. Take care.